Today is May 31st, 2007. We're at the home of Mr. Joe McQuaid at his home in Loveland, Colorado. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Northern Colorado Veterans History Project. Welcome, Mr. McQuaid, and thank you for participating in this project today.
Well, I thank you for that.
Let's start out, if we can. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us when and where you were born.
I was born in Stewart, Iowa in 1919, and let's see what the hell else it was. Stewart, Iowa, 1919.
Did a little bit about your family? Any brothers and sisters?
Yeah. I had two brothers and one sister.
And what did your father do for a
And
living?
my dad was an entertainer, musically inclined, and my mother also was the piano player in a small group that they had. They traveled in the county area with a small band. Had a drummer was an uncle of mine, so that worked in pretty good. And they were a good-looking group too. Also, of course, my dad was a barber full time. And my mother was a beautiful lady, and she only weighed 110 pounds, and I could pick her up and hold her up like a doll, you know. And they had traveled the country in short distance around. And they did take a trip to Black Hills, South Dakota. That was quite a deal there. But he had a canvas made for the back of the old Ford pickup, or not pickup, car. The dance band from Iowa, you know. So that was a big deal, like a Lawrence Welk before his time.
Did you kids follow them musically?
Oh no, my grandparents took care of me on a farm.
But down the road, did you eventually pick up an instrument yourself and play, or?
Yeah, the CC camp had an orchestra, and I had a set of drums that my uncle had, so I played the drums. And but that was the only talent I had. I didn't have any other talents outside of maybe halftime, telling a story or two. And I never did learn to dance, and that kind of was a handicap after I was a sailor. That's about it on that.
Okay. You'd said you mentioned the CC. You were in the CC before.
I was in the CC camp for 3 years.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved with that.
I had 3 meals a day. $36 was my check for the month, and the check for the month went to my parents, and I could go home and get it from them if they liked, but they would like to send it to your home. And then they give me $6 a month, and they furnished all my clothes and all I could eat, and a good place to sleep. I thought it was good for me. It was actually, I enjoyed the CC camp.
How did you come to get involved with the CC?
Because in Depression time, and they had an extra guy in the family, and he was physically fit. Why, he'd go see if he could get into CC camp. And I was just a little bit underage, and I forget what the deal was, but my dad went with me. And I says, "You sure you don't mind wanting to get into CC camp because it's run like an army deal?" I said, "I do. They get free socks whenever they're broke, or whenever the old's got holes in them. You don't have to. They just take them down to the barracks there, and they'll fit you up with new clothes. If you wore your shirt out or socks out, pants out, they'll replace them. Don't cost you a dime. Don't cost your parents a dime." It was Roosevelt's, one of the greatest things he ever done was put in the CC camp, because we fought the floods on the Missouri River, and we fought the floods all the way up from Sioux City clear down into Mexico.
So that was my next question. Where did you serve in your camps? And that was.
Yeah, that was it. Being ready for any kind of disaster that was
Gotcha.
We fought the chinch bugs when they was eating the corn crops, and in southern Iowa, down around Sydney, down there in the wintertime, seemed like they had big snowstorms. And we'd take our shovels and go out and shovel a road out so the morticians could go out and bring in the dead people. And in Iowa, in that part of Iowa, was a lot of hills, so the drifts were deep. We fed the birds, and as soon as we could, we started excavating the water so we built dams. That one where I'm bouncing the ladder on my chin, that was just out of Sydney, Iowa. And we ate in the open all the time. Of course, we didn't have no barracks. We'd go to work in trucks. And in my book, I think that was one of the best things that Roosevelt ever did, because World War II, the first thing they said, "Have you had any backyard training in military. Do you know anything about? Yeah, I was in the CC
CC.
camp. I'd tell them. CC camp for a little over 3 years. I was in there.
So you were in the CC when the war broke out?
No, I was working for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
They kicked me out of the CC. 6 years I was in the CCs. And then they finally kicked me out, and all of us guys had been in there. And of course, we'd worked ourselves into a rating, you know, corporal or sergeant, just like the Army.
Uh-huh.
And I remember on D-Day, had been working for Coca-Cola.
D-Day or Pearl Harbor Day?
No, Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor Day, yeah. And there was a secretary in the office, a little gal, and everybody liked her, and she was full of information. She'd to work on Saturdays and turn the radio up, and the guys was in there going pheasant hunting. They was getting together who's going who and where. And she come out of the office, and the first guy she bumped into out to deliver some messages, she's crying. I said, "What's the matter with you, Enid? You drop a typewriter on your foot, you know?" And she's crying and crying. "Oh, where's Pearl Harbor?" I said, "Pearl Harbor? Is that a new customer or what? I don't know what the hell Pearl Harbor is." She said, "No, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and sunk all of our battleships." Whoa, here now, is that what you heard on the radio just now? Yeah, I'm just telling you now. So I told the guys, "Hey, come on up here, listen up." They were making the guns and where you going, this and that. And then she told them that, and everybody put the guns back in the car, and they took off for home to see what the hell was going on. And then they went from there down at the Federal Building, and everybody started coming in, walking and running, getting to the Federal Building where they could sign up and go get them little yellow-bellied sons of bitches. That's what they said.
Yeah.
And that's where I said, I gotta go. So the next morning, we went, all the guys in the Coca-Cola plant, including the boss, we all got down in line to talk to the officials and see what's going on, what can we do, and of course it was all saying you got to get with for this and this and this, and I went down there and same thing, and they said, "Come in tomorrow morning, we'll have everything laid out, we'll tell you what to do, where to go." And so the guys were in line there, and one guy says, anybody going to leave town to go anywhere to join the? I said, "Hey, yeah, I'm ready to go anywhere you want to send me." And I said, "I got some CC experience in the CC camp for 6 years. Hey, get up here, get up here." So I get up on the stage with the rest of the guys, and they all had pencils and books, and they was writing this down, writing that newspaper and flashing pictures. And the guy says, "You was in the CC camp?" "Yeah, there was." He said, "God, that's what we need." He said, "We got some stuff here. It's got to go to Omaha, and they need somebody to bring in some of this stuff here, and we need some people in Omaha. You got more people than here in Iowa. We need some of them to come out here to Omaha so we can get going." So then there's them guys up there on the stage, and we're all out here wondering to call her name, you know. And they said, McQuaid, Joe McQuaid, CC camp experience." Okay, I get up here, and he said, "Okay, now here's the story. We got a train load going down south, and there's a train going down to Louisiana, and we need somebody to take these papers, and we'll get them lined up, and then we need somebody that could know a captain from a peanut vendor." And I said, "I'd be willing to do that." They said, "Well, here's all the papers." My God, it was about that thick of papers. I said, whoa, construction. I was in construction. I said, the only thing I knew good about, go in and see the office was to go in and see the office lady. And I said, "God damn, you said you wanted to get in the Navy." He said, "You're kicking off, it sounds right." So I said, "Can I hire somebody to help me with these books and these papers?" Sure. So I'd been talking to some guys that was going to the University of Omaha, Catholic University, in Omaha. And I can't think of the name of the university there, but anyway. Creighton University. So I went over with these guys and I said, "I need help, and I don't know much about pencils and notes and writing like that, but I'm healthy and I got some experience, 6 years in the CC camp, so would you guys like to help me out, and here's all the papers." Sure. So that fitted. They wanted to get lined up with something right away, So that worked out good for them, worked out good for me, and I said, "I'll go wherever you want to go."
So you chose to go in the Navy, or by
You know,
by all this,
yeah,
you just kind of got
yeah.
thrown into it.
Yeah, it just went down there and then you could go from there wherever they sent you. So I was down in boot camp in Algiers, which is over the, Mississippi goes down there and over the top and over to Algiers is an island, big island. And there's already a big bunch ahead of me, you know, and everybody's starting to holler, hey, you know. So I stayed there for, I think it damn near about 3 months, I think it was. I don't recall exactly. But anyway, boot camp, that's where I went through boot camp. Learned how to fire the old rifle and understand the lingo and take orders and be efficient, be honest, be alert, be willing.
But once again, you felt like you were kind of ahead
Yeah,
of the crowd because
yeah.
of your CC experience.
Yeah, I did. Every place I went.
Yeah.
CC experience. I was surprised. I had guys like at Creighton University, you know, they was really good. I said, you're helping me out. I want to help you out.
Yeah.
So we worked together in the CC camp, and then I don't know how they left, but they read off my name to get on a bus to go across, to get on a train to go up to Philadelphia. So that my trick, adios amigos, and I got on the train, and I don't know how many days we stopped, and in the Orange State. What's the Orange State?
Florida?
On the way up. Well, anyway, we stopped at a famous town, city.
Okay.
I can't think of it.
That's
right
okay.
now. But I remember they had a guy there, a little bitty guy working in the. Some of us went in the hotel to look around, and here's a little guy in there hollering, "Call for Philip Maurice. Call for Philip Maurice." You know, he's about this tall, little midget guy selling cigarettes.
Huh.
Philip Morris. So anyway, got on a train, went to Philadelphia. And we got into Philadelphia, and they kind of split us around. We went down to the Navy base there, and they says, "Any of you guys ever sleep in a hammock?" Yeah, I said I did. I didn't, wasn't too crazy about it, but I did. On the farm, my uncles had put between two pine trees, they had knocked an old wooden barrel apart and took the stays out and made that for the bottom part.
Huh.
And so it was a heavy duty because all my uncles were over 200 pounds. So that's where I went next, was in Philadelphia. Now and then from there, that's how I got into the Philadelphia Navy Yard. I'd stopped in at my grandma's a little bit later. But anyway, so the guys didn't know how to get in a hammock. You got to know how to get in a damn hammock. Well, one was made out of barrel stays, well, that's not so bad, but you got a good rough idea. So that's where we was in an old ship, the Denebola, and it was an old sailing ship, and they just put her on the curb, and use it for something someday. And they had some guns on there. They had Gatling gun on there. Everybody got a chance to use the Gatling gun. But anyway, the guys couldn't get in their damn hammock that was falling out on the floor, and I was doing good. And I was there for damn near a week. And then we said, we got a guy that can stand, never been to sea before, but you think you can handle I know you handle it or not. We're going to ship your ass over here, so here's where I go. So I get in a boat that was owned by some of the rich guys on the East Coast to bring up the smuggling alcohol.
Okay,
back in that day.
Right.
And so we had one of their boats. It was a 75-foot long boat runner. So I got on that, and they put sound gear on there looking for subs. So we went up and down the coast up to Boston and back down to Philadelphia. And we took the inside course from on the coastline there. We took that and crossed the bridge, shortcut going in. And
now, how was that for an Iowa farm boy? Did you get your sea legs right away, or
I had my sea legs. Hell, I got in the old hammock and told them guys, laughed at them, And yeah, I got my sea legs real good. It was good because that's a 75-footer, the old drum runners they called them.
Yeah.
So I got on that sucker, and I was felt, boy, I big time. I would see already salt water in my eyes, And So I made about 3 trips on that, but that was on loan to the Navy from
Yeah.
the Coast Guard. So the way to tell, one of the things we learned in the CC camp, how do you identify what kind of a ship you're on, or what do you see, is it an American ship, or then you could tell by the pennant, you know, the pennant's a little bit skinny flag up on the top, on the rigging. And I said, I joined the Navy. And the guy says, how do you know? And I said, I think I know because you got your pennant up there. Another guy says, that's a bunch of BS. You're in the Navy. I said, no, it's Coast Guard. And then the captain, not the captain, but a big captain, I think he's a lieutenant or something. He says, what's the chit chat? And I said, well, these guys don't know whether they're on a Navy ship or a Coast Guard cutter or what. He said, well, you're on Coast Guard. See that pennant? And I said, oh, okay, thanks for that. So I was on that, and on our day off, then we went across the river, the Thames, they call it, in the boat dock right across the river was where they was building submarines. And I thought, submarines, shit, I'd get a submarine. That sounds good to me.
Oh.
So we went over there, and they said, well, we'll get the tank, we'll check you out here a little bit. What are you on now? And I said, we just got on that, we just come up from Philadelphia. Oh, he said, yeah, you're good meat. Yeah, get in there. Put us in this great big tank, closed the door, tightened everything down, and then there's 2 other guys with me. They said, boy, they really lock you up, don't you? And I said, do you get panicky when you get locked up? And the guy said, no, they didn't care. You know, get locked in the barn one time. You know, just dumbos.
Yeah.
The first time I'd ever been wet with salt water too,
Yeah.
you know. So anyway, they rigged me out because they said, no, you're too big. This is for subservice. You know?
Right.
So out of there, and that was my first sea experience. Then I got back, and I just barely getting squared away. I get my sea bag and everything. Maybe somebody else will want me. So then I got on a cutter. It was a little bigger ship. So same kind of deal. They had sonar gear on them, so they could be listening for the pating, pating, pating on what the guys listening. And then made a short trip on that, and then got off of that and got on this brand new, what the hell is the name of them? Well, anyway, it was our destroyer escort, the destroyer. Oh, that big time, I liked that. So they took the paperwork and got on there, and then I was on there until, well, damn near short of about 3 months of hearing them say that the war was over, you know. By that time I'd made several trips escorting convoys up the North Atlantic.
Let's start with that. Was that your first assignment overseas?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some of those trips.
All right.
And what that was like.
Destroyer escort is 5 escorts, and convoys were building in the Atlantic off the East Coast, ready to be escorted, and against the Germans had the subs,
Right.
sinking ships already.
Yeah.
And and we had sonar gear on there, and had guys that knew had been listening on their sonar gear for any sounds that was sound like that. And they had some, biggest gun we had was 50 caliber, I think it was 50 caliber. And then we had 3 depth charges on one side, 1 depth charge over here. If we made a good contact, then we could twist the knob on it, roll it over side, just go off with so much depth of the thing. Anyway, so I made my first trip in convoy, and they were spread, and I go up the CIC room, had a picture glass about like this. The 2 guys up there that were trained into looking at blips. Each one with blip was a ship. And so then I come up 2 notches real fast and to get to be somebody, you know, other than a seaman. So I got into 2nd class boats and made right away quick. And because, now see, there'll be a law against that. That guy that runs up and down the street, and that's all he does.
Yeah.
He'll wait at night. But anyway, that was my first trip. up the North Atlantic.
Well, now what were you thinking? Was it did it play on your mind that, particularly like at night when you went lay down to bed, that there was German subs out there? I mean,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, some
how did
guys-
you deal with that?
Some guys that had a hell of a time dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I says, you got sleeping with your clothes on? That's okay. Banning ship, you're all set. Go jump over the side. And the guy says, how come you're so cool? I said, well, they didn't use the word cool, but
Yeah.
how come you're taking it like that, you know? And I said, well, if you want to make a big deal out of it, let it up stuff to your program so you can't eat that bologna sandwich. And, if that didn't, you're in bad shape. You got to work on yourself.
Huh.
Power suggestion, you know.
Yeah.
And
Huh.
first thing I know, I was sort of appointed by the executive officer to go through the ship and see guys are having a bad time and crying, you know, some of them were, you know, and some of them couldn't sleep. I can't sleep, I can't sleep. Then I'd go talk to them and work it
I'll
over.
be done. Huh.
I sort of worked in. The next thing I know, I was a second-class boatswain.
Yeah.
And I thought, hell, this is a piece of cake, you know. Because we had guys on the ship that were just absolutely froze about thinking about them.
Yeah. Sure.
And they knew this hull on the ship was like 3 50-cent pieces. I'd say, if that's how thick the ship is,
Yeah.
you know, we get plenty of protection. God, that ain't much iron there. And I said, well, that's the way it is. So anyway, I stayed on that and escorted convoys all the way up into Murmansk, Russia. And we done a lot of good because we got some of them Germans was a little too bold. And we did have some 45 millimeters that we could get them when they'd come up close and was going to get us with the guns, big gun. But we had the answer for that. So we had some 50 calibers and some bigger. So I made 6 trips up that North Atlantic.
And conditions, the North Atlantic.
Oh, shit.
Talk. I mean,
Yeah.
were you still managing to keep your sea legs in those conditions?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I challenged it. I challenged the old North Sea and the Atlantic outside. And G.I. Lynch was the skipper. And G.I. Lynch, I liked him. He was a rough talking old boy, and I talked rough to him back again. I'd call him, you know, bastards or something. I'd get up in the front end here, and he says, hey, you're getting a little rough there. But he says, if there's nobody else around here but me, I like that ship. And so I just got along. Next thing you know, I was second-class boatsmate. And then we were doing more, you know, back and forth, picking up a convoy. And then you go up to CIC room, and the guy in there in the CIC room, I'd say, how are we doing here, Earl? He said, well, since you was here last time, this blip is gone, it's gone. This one's gone. We got one over here, this one's gone. Those were all shipped with peoples on them.
Wow.
In freight. And we're zigging and zagging with our trip, trying to pick them many as we can. But them Germans was so far ahead of us on our equipment, defense equipment. We had, the next thing we went to was, we were dragging a piece of bronze or something astern. We'd get that out. And then that was more sensitive to the noises it was picking up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was coming on in after we'd made about 3 years of the hard way. And I only made one trip with that, and they said they worked really good. So then they'd go to where that sound thought it was at, and they'd roll off maybe 2 or 3 depth charges, and you can set them just before you roll them in.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll take, and this little thing that set them off is about like a lady's lipstick tube, and you twist that set it for depth. So after it went down so deep, why it would make contact and set that depth charge on.
Right.
Yeah. And if they got a little too close to that sucker, it'd bust their hulls, open them up somewhere.
Hmm.
So then I got off of that and got on a troop ship.
Well, can I back up and ask you a question? What was the trips like to Russia? Did you actually have contact with the Russians at all? Or
no, we thought we did have, and I can truthfully say we had one contact, and we did come to surface. They came to surface and was using surface weapons on us, and we nailed him. By that time we had another thing called hedgehogs. It was 30 pounds of powder, like that. And the guys would come out, and it was set up on a piece of steel like this. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. So when they'd fire that, it would go over instead of just having one depth charge. This here would go over and had a better chance of hitting somebody.
Uh-huh.
So and when it hit, it would open them up, and then they would come to the surface and going to finish you off. See, so that's where we done battle on that.
As with
And
the
we
Germans.
done real good. In fact, I got a picture of that somewhere that somebody
Okay.
we was trying to find
Yeah.
it. But
The paravein.
yeah, paravanes, yeah, paravanes.
But on your trips to Russia, did you actually
We never got
into Russia itself?
No, we got up into Norwegian country,
Oh, okay.
and the other place was. See, they didn't go to war. The guy didn't.
Sweden?
Sweden, yeah,
Yeah.
Sweden, and then there's another one there.
So you would just escort.
Finland.
You would just escort the ships to that point, and at
Yeah,
that point on,
yeah.
they were safe to
That's
go on.
when- yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
pretty much
Okay.
safe.
All
If the Russians were buddy then,
Yeah.
they'd help us get a ship, a load in there. We had one ship that was really funny. Everybody liked to watch it because it had a steam engine come off a railroad. And it was a big old ship, you know, and there's that old train that had it dogged down, the engine
Uh-huh.
in the coal car.
Huh.
It was all strapped down on this great big old ship. And we said, what a target, you know, my
Yeah.
God. Everybody, first thing you do, you get off a watch and go up CIC room, look at this and see who's there. And they got that ship and that coal car, and they got that sucker where she right on in to Russia. They tested, but we had other ships that weren't
Yeah.
so
yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
And so I stayed on that. Let's see if I get off of that sucker.
Yeah. And then you said you
Yeah.
went from there to troop transport.
Troop transport.
Okay.
That was AP-119, William Waggle. It was built in Texas by, what was the kid's name? They named it after a young sailor down in Texas. And so I stayed on that ship and hauled troops with no escort. And
Once again, up in the North Atlantic, or
no, and then we came out of the North Atlantic after they made a trip up in there. We made one trip up in there. Then we come out of there and went down through the Caribbean and picked up some troops to take to the Pacific. And a long story short, that's where we didn't have much action there until MacArthur decided to come back into Lake Maracaibo, the southern end of the Philippines.
I'm going to interrupt you because
Yeah.
I'm hoping I keep things in order. You talked about going to Morocco. Was that after MacArthur, or was that part of your troop transport?
Yeah, troop transport.
Okay.
Went to Casablanca, you mean? So,
Yes,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah. That's where we got that. I later found out that my brother was on one of the escort, or one of the ships unloaded going through the Mediterranean, or was it Mediterranean? Yeah. Yeah.
But you didn't know that till after the
I
war.
didn't know it till.
That leads to a question. How did you keep in contact? Did you keep in contact with your folks back in Iowa, or
Butch said he got 2 letters, and I think I said I got a couple of cards. I found out it's quicker to get a card through there because at that time they was auditing your
Yeah.
mails,
Yeah, right.
transferring back and forth. And to tell you the truth, I think I sent 2 cards, 2 postcards, big print, so to get there faster.
Yeah.
And that was the only contact I had until one time I had one Liberty. We came into New York, and I'd come across Nebraska then, and then my mother was working for an ammunition depot, so I got on a train with an Indian. We had one Indian on our ship, and everybody called him Chief. Well, he wasn't Chief because he didn't have that rating, you know. It was his Navy's Chief.
Right. Yeah.
And he did like to get drunk when he went ashore, which he wasn't supposed to do that. And I stayed with him on the train and all the way and dumped him off some little town. The train stopped in Nebraska, and he was a carpenter on the AP-119.
Huh.
But I enjoyed the big ship.
Yeah.
It was big. It was rough.
So you'd taken transports to Morocco, and then now you said that then you picked up troops. Did you go through the canal to
Oh
the
yeah,
Pacific?
Panama Canal Zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got in Panama Canal Zone. We had about I think there was 600 people on that ship, and I had 6 Marines. I was the only law on there until we got the Marines on there. And I could, you got 5,000 troops, and I'm the Mr. Lawman, you know. And we didn't have much trouble though with the soldiers. And then they sent me 6 Marines, and I was sure glad to get them because sometimes them black boys would charge you, you know, on something.
Huh.
They knew you had a gun, but they'd let you know that they had a knife, a blade. They had a
Yeah.
blade, see. So if you had to do what you had to do, and his name was, I never thought I'd forget it. But anyway, he came aboard with, he had to give him 5 men and himself. He was his first sergeant. And then we had to get rid of him in the Philippines. No, we got rid of him when we went through the canal zone, because he was taking the guys below the deck, captain's orders, all hands, below deck. And this one guy was lagging, one black guy. He wanted to challenge that Marine, call them jarheads. And everybody else was going down below pretty good, but this one guy didn't want to seem to move. And then he challenged old Woods, I believe. Yeah, Sergeant Woods, yeah. He challenged him. He came at him with an open blade. And old Woods just pulled his .45 out and shot him. And all the rest of the troops were below, see, so they didn't see it. Otherwise, we'd have had a riot. And later on, they said he fell overboard. So it took care of that, but they put him in the cool room down below. The next place we had a chance, they unloaded him in a box, and they didn't know what it was. We figured as they come up out of because they had him in the cooler, they put him in a wooden box and found some stuff that was spoiled.
Yeah.
So he got off the plane. I never did see him until somebody told me that he was in the States somewhere on the East Coast. But see, it had been a chance for, a riot. You only had I had a little troop of 6 men that I had that was with my group, and then old Sergeant Woods, but they didn't want nobody to know anything, so that was the word. Put Jacob's ladder over the side and unloaded him.
So you took the transport, that ship, to the Philippines?
Yeah, then we dumped them off on different islands out there. I can't remember some of them.
Yeah.
But to wind it up, we headed for the Philippines. They said we was going in the midway of the Philippines. And we found out it was going into Lake Maracaibo. That was at the far tip, and then we found out MacArthur was coming back. So we knew something was going to happen. We didn't know what. So I had the captain's gig. That was his boat. I was responsible to have his gig, which was a really nice boat, tied alongside the ship, trailing it. And then when they got through with the captain stuff, they were supposed to tie it off midship there, Somebody screwed up, and they went around the stern and tied it off in the stern. Well, there's a boat trailing back of the ship, and there already troops are going ashore in the Philippines. So the troops figured, what the hell, damn sailors, they wouldn't know, they don't know what we're going to do. We need that boat worse than they do. So the Army was great for that. Well, one outfit with the other, they cut the lines on it and took it with them. They were unloading gas and oil and shit. We need that boat. Them sailors don't need that. Ain't no liberty here, and then the old man, boy, he got on everybody's ass because that was his boat to communicate. He didn't have no place to go or to go with.
Did you manage to get it back from the Army?
So we sent a little troop that was stealing just like the Army was. So we got a little boat all the way back, but it wasn't near as good as the captain's boat. And so if we had any spare time, we're supposed to be fixing it up. So that was that story. So then, bring it to an end right quick here. Old Sergeant Woods, his assistant, come back and he said, boats, this was weeks after. Boats, get on a PA system. That's a PA system about this long, about that tall, about that wide. And all these are compartments. Open all the compartments, the captain's got something to say. And we was at that time right east of the Philippines, actually east of Manila. Then, so I went up to the bridge, and I said, the captain had the message, and I said, and you guys hear what it was? And one guy says, I don't know, but I think it's pretty good. I said, you hear it? No, but I think it's going to be pretty good. So the captain told me then, open up all the compartments on the speaker there. And somebody tried to cut his head or something. He was an ugly sucker anyway. But he had put that hand up like this and he's going to talk. He didn't want nobody to see his throat. And he's standing there and he says, I'll get these buttons open here. Now, okay, this is the message. Ladies and gentlemen, now just in case there was a lady aboard, I'll say it again. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a message from the President of the United States, Harry S. Truman. Did you hear me? Yay, 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 yeah. What did the President say? The President said, the war is over. And so my command will open all their small arms, rifles, any way of destruction, because tomorrow morning, them kamikazes are going to come in right out of the sun, tomorrow morning, right on the starboard side.
Huh.
And we're ready for them. So boy, oh boy, everybody that was carrying small arms went to the side of the ship. I can't think we call it then. But anyway, and they're picking a position to get, and getting their extra clips out so they could case. And then the Marines, what was left on there, Marines. And then we had all our small guns, and we had 45 millers, and we had the 50 calibers. And then somebody said they had a 30 caliber that they had in their mattress, 30 caliber. So he'd go down and get it. He said he kept it all in case he had to go over the side. He'd have some protection. But anyway, that was it. Here they come. By God,
Sure
the
enough,
next
yeah.
morning they come in there, and they was coming in, and we was firing everything, 20 millimeter, 40 calibers. One guy, they said he had two or three, only his 45, and 2 or 3 hand grenades. He was waiting until they got in good and close.
Oh, geez.
And that's where it come to an end right there. That's when the word came out. Then I don't know how long after that, but then the captain come on again. This is your captain talking to you now. And he says, it's over. President of the United States, Harry S. Truman, says, it's over. The son of a bitch is over. Yay! That was it. That was into World War II, and then about, probably 30 days less than that. Anybody that wanted to could get off and fly to Frisco if they wanted.
Now, you remember when you'd heard about that the bombs had been dropped? Did you have any idea what those were even about? And
No, we didn't
understand that at all?
No, that's what he said. He said, something big. Captain, we didn't know. Then later on in life, I got to, of course, I went back, that was the next issue. I went back, when I got into Omaha, where they had one of the airports, you could go see what one of them big boys, they call them. And they had them set there. Now they moved them all out of where there was, farther out in Nebraska. But yeah, that was where it come to an end.
Your mother got killed.
Oh yeah, well that's the tragedy part of my family. They said, was you in the Navy? And I said, was I ever? I said, my whole family was in the Navy. I said, my mother and my dad went from Iowa to Hastings, Nebraska to work in the ammunition depots. And the depots looked big, like big cellars in the old days where
Yeah.
they had to hump out in backyards, and they were making powder and stuff for the Navy. And first my mother got a job in the depot, and then later on my dad got a job in the depot, and they were all out in different places. Some of the guys were driving buses, and they'd go drive around town and pick up the people that come and work there. Then I know we come in off of a run up in the Mermans, so we got our mail, and the guys said, hey, get your spoons, I got some picked cookies here in a steel tub. He had a tub full of cookies, but I'm doing it to get it boogered up. Bring your spoons, he said. So anyway, I'm going from the bow back to the fantail and down below. And the officer, he was a second officer, I can't think of his name now, but he said, hey Joe, come with me, I want something, I want to talk to you. I want you down there by where your bunk is at, I want to come down and talk to you.
Oh, geez.
And I said, no shit, have we got something bad? He said, just come on down. So that's where he had the telegram in it. My mother got killed in the ammunition depot, and Hastings deal blew up. And there was nobody left. And in fact, as it came out in the newspaper then, and then, I don't know, some of the guys got quick mail some way or another, and they found out that the ammunition depot blew up in the assembly area. Well, that's where my mother worked. So that was that. So I didn't get back for that, but brother that was down in the Philippines, or down in the Caribbean, down here later on, he tried to get home to the funeral, but he couldn't get a hold of Butch. Butch was still fighting the war.
Hmm.
And then that was a blowed up deal, because then later on my dad was in an explosion in the same depot, and he was, I just never could really get together, but I get all the paperwork on it, so if I want to get into it. But it didn't kill him, it boogered him up. And then for a long time I didn't get any information on anything, and then June and my sister's husband kind of got together and loosened things up so I could get a little more information. So now we went to the library the last time we was going through Nebraska. We drove into town and they asked somebody about the library. We wanted to check on some accidents that happened in the family, you know.
Yeah.
So we down at a brand new library and we got a book. We had to buy the damn book, didn't we?
Hmm.
Do we have it here?
I don't know.
I don't know what happened, no. It's probably in some stuff we never unpacked down in the basement. So it gave us the whole story on that. Well then, my sister got married, and my younger brother, he lost his controls and everything, so he was Navy. He's buried down here in Denver, down to
Fort Logan.
Fort Logan. So then I thought, hell, I'm going to sign up for construction out in the Pacific. They want some people out there that's got some construction. And I was actually, had been to New York, and I was thinking about getting lined up with an outfit oil company over in the Arab country. I'm glad I didn't go there.
Huh.
But I hired on to an outfit out of Chicago. And then I come to the islands out here and come to them. I mean,
Now this was out after you'd
Yes.
gotten out of the service.
yeah, it's out of the service.
How, when did you get discharged? How much longer after the war ended before you were discharged?
Well, I was running around quite a bit. I think it was. I don't remember just exactly. I bought a beer joint and sold it.
No, you were still on the ship. He wants to know when you got discharged.
Oh, yeah, discharged. We got shipped and got on a train and took us into down in Missouri there. Well, what's the two big towns in Missouri? Well, St. Louis. I think it was St. Louis, Missouri. There was a couple, three other guys. We were all going to the same place. We was on the second floor of a hotel, and they were discharging just as fast as they could to give you a check, then give you the ticket. And I went down and got a ticket, threw my sea bag out the window, and that little piece of wooden carving over there, that nice little thing there, that was in my sea bag and never hurt it a bit. I just wrapped it up with old dirty shorts and stuff. And I heard them announce our name on the PA system, so I just took the sea bag over and hollered, "Hey, coming down."
Huh.
Dumped the old sea bag down and caught the other one down there. And then you go through a physical just like you did when you went in.
Uh-huh.
And everybody was in a hurry. Yeah, you all right? Yeah, you had damages? No. And they had a check for you, get a ticket to go home on, you know. And I should have stayed a little bit longer and give them a little more information, because I did get a little back injury, you know.
Hmm.
And I didn't, though. I thought,
Yeah.
shit, I'm not bad enough. There's guys worse than me. But I've never had to, well, I always got in without giving them any bullshit, you know.
Yeah. What do you remember when you first got home after being away for so long?
Yeah.
And now news that your mom
Yeah.
had passed away and your dad was buggered up, and you
Yeah,
remember?
I think I wound up back in Des Moines. I think I went back because I got a doctor that was my kinfolks, and he top of line. I taught him how to salute. I met him during the wartime, you know. He's Dr. E.J. Kelly, #1 doctor in Des Moines at the big Mercy Hospital. Dr. E.J. Kelly, #1.
Huh.
And he wanted me to go home with him, and I'd spent many nights at his house. And he called it my room, big fancy home. But he and I got along real good, and he'd always go to the kitchen at night, and I'd go out there and meet him in the kitchen. Well, I heard him tell people, give him a prescription over the phone, you know. this one lady was telling her, she said, I told you never to do that. She's pregnant. I think he took care of all the pregnant women in Hawaii. but anyway, he had a teaspoon carrying it around in his hand on the phone like this. He was talking to her, and I thought I told you don't do that. And then he'd take a teaspoonful of baking soda, put it in his mouth. The water's running. Just a minute. They gobble that down. He said, Doc, you told me that wasn't good for you. I know it is. It's good for me. I'm going to change doctors. So he was just a good guy. Well, they finally asked him to come in. He said they asked him. Now, I don't know whether they asked him or whether they told him. But he got into service and went to Ohio. And then one time I come into New York, I went to Ohio to meet him. And he was in his uniform. I mean, shit, boy, he had more damn gold than you can shake stick at doctor. A lot of respect. I think it was I just don't know what they called him. I don't. I always called him Doc, no matter what.
Yeah.
But I went to Brooklyn Navy Yard, and then I caught a train, I think. No, it was a plane, to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, to meet Doc and his family. He took his family with him wherever he could.
Huh.
And he had a wife and a couple of kids and a mother. And anyway, he had a convertible, Cadillac convertible. He was driving around in that, you know. And he was carrying my ditty bag. And the soldiers and sailors up. And then one guy says to the captain, no, see what the hell, he was something else higher than a captain, yeah. But anyway, the guy says, look at it, he says, carrying the damn ditty bag for that boatswain. And they was mumbling on, they'd been drinking, you know, and everything. And he said, he told one of them, he said, you guys ought to strip down and salute. Of course, he had a couple of nips in the galley, see. And if he wanted to, you should have to kiss his ass. The guy went, geez, I don't know, he got a load on her. Oh, shit, that was old Doc. And I said, yeah, you shouldn't do that, Doc. And he said, oh, sometimes I like to cut loose. He said, you know, you have to bite your lip when you're in this outfit, you know, or something like that. But he was as high as you could get in a doctor with his gold.
Yeah.
He's a #1 doctor. Dr. E.J. Kelly. At the Mercy Hospital in the morning, he's got his, on a plaque there for his name. #1 Dr. E.J. Kelly. Well, see, on my dad's side was from Ireland, of course, all of them did.
Yeah.
But his uncle, or he took his dad and his mother, get him a room in a hotel somewhere so he'd be close to him, you know. All right, talk about a good guy. And then last time I seen him, he called me here in town. I was living right where I'm living now. Talked to at that time my wife was alive, talked to her and said he wanted to see me at the airport. They were on their way to, him and his wife was on their way to Denver and wanted to meet me at the plane. They were going to get off there and spend the night there and we could yak it up, you know. And that was the last time I seen him. Her name was Rosie. She was a beautiful lady. Both of them beautiful ladies. But I heard from her a couple, 3 times in California. She wanted me to move out there. She had real estate too, besides being what she was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, Rosie, I just can't do that. You know, I'd like to. I'd like to be able to jump in the old car and drive out and see you. She was Watertown. Is there a Watertown, eastern part of Los Angeles, I think, or something?
I think so.
Seemed me like it was that. But anyway, that wound that story up with him.
Yeah. What was it like, you know, as an Iowa farm boy? I don't imagine growing up that you'd, except for the CC, travel that much. What was it like to, I mean, you went to some pretty exotic places in the world, the North Atlantic, Casablanca, the South Pacific. What was it like from the eyes of a naive farm boy?
I'd get just as much out of that damn piece of land as they could try to get out of me. We pulled into France, Marseille, France. We pulled in Casablanca. We pulled in, well, at that time the war was coming to an end, but it wasn't to an end yet. But to get out and go, my old buddy, the cook from Missouri, Clyde Rosie, my buddy, we'd get together, like when we pulled into where the barber shop. Oh yeah, it was Casablanca. We was in there on the second trip, and Clyde says, we gotta go hoop it up a little bit. I said, I don't feel like Arabs, all them Arabs running around, ain't nothing there I want. I already skinned one of them, I said. He said, yeah, I heard you did that, ripped that little Arab. He was coming up, Saiba, Saiba, Saiba. And so the guy hollered up and he says, he wants 2 gallons of gas. And I said, well, who the hell does he think he is anyway? I said, I'd have to have a nice piece of some leather, some kind of leather, something, lay my head on it. So then the one that could speak a little English says, Saiba, gas, head. So I told the guy, go back and get about a gallon of gas out of the old boat. That's the captain's gig, gas engine. I said, I'm willing to sacrifice to the captain. But anyway, it was a dirty trick, but I lowered him down, I suppose 2 gallons or two, I don't know if it was 2 gallons. No, it wasn't 2 gallons, 2 quarts of, 2 quarts of gas and then 3 quarts of water, you know. Just lowered that sucker down. Hey, say bye, I was a hot say, babe. So, back, took off. I said, ain't that pretty? I said, I should send that home.
What'd you barter for? It was
something to lay your head on the couch. And
okay.
Made out of, they had good leather goods.
Yeah.
Lay on the couch, you know, lay down. I said, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with that. All of a sudden I said, hey, boats, Arab over here, really pissed bad pissed boss. Bad. I said, hey, let's have a look at that old boy, you know, back here. Man, he was red hot. And he'd hit that water line, you know, and no more gas. No more gas, no more on the head. No more. Maybe you come ashore. He said, we talk about it. Talk. No knife. Anyway, that was my big throat Casablanca. But then that was, that was about to run on that. I could go into a whole bunch of, my liberties, I never mentioned liberties.
Yeah, and that story of the cook in the pot.
That was good.
Yeah, we'll go over some of these stories here that you had mentioned.
Yeah, well, the cook, his name is, what did I say his name? Oh, God. I called him a first name anyway. But anyway, that sucker was not supposed to ever keep the doors locked if I'm making the rounds on the ship, you know. I'd go in and get a cup of coffee or something, and then he shut that off of me. And I said, no, you Gallup. His name was Gallup. And I said, you can't do to me, Gallup. I said, I want to get in and get a cup of coffee, maybe something to eat here. Jump the gun a little bit. I'm up the outside ladder all the way to the top of the bridge every hour at least. I'm wet, thirsty.
Sure.
I said, and the fact is, I said, by God, I'm coming around about every now. I want that door open where I can get in there and get something to eat. I went around, that sucker was locked. Well, now we're not going to have that. So I didn't want to bust it down to get in there and talk to him. But I come in there one day, he was on duty, off duty, and he forgot to shut the hatch. And I come in, and he was a smart aleck. I come in the hatch, opened her up, went in the galley, and there that son of a bitch was sitting and taking a bath in the big stainless steel pot we could done her cooking in. You know, Gallup. He starts to get up, hey boats. Hey, no, take your time. I don't want to get out no skin rash on her, too much soap, no rinse. Stay right there. But from now on, I want something besides bad mouthing and you know, putting me down.
Yeah.
When I knock on the door, dot, open her up, I want something to eat. Like maybe an egg, maybe a little piece of bacon. You can't do that to me, Boats. I said, one trip to up there where the man's at, you ain't got no job. May not have no skin. We might have to just throw your ass over the side. He fell over. He just fell over the side that last this evening. But anyway, from then on I had it made, but the bad part it was, we was only about 3 days out of New York. Son of a buck, why couldn't I get that?
Yeah.
But you know, I got to see him after the war. I seen him coming down. That's when I was getting off. and he was just going like he signed up for another
Huh.
run.
Maybe we were able to laugh
Yeah.
about that at the
Oh
time.
yeah, laughed about it. Yeah.
You also have listed here, we'll go over some of the things you want to talk about. Looks like you'd run into a bunch of celebrities. Katharine Hepburn, Arlene Francis.
Yeah.
What's the story behind these names?
Do Catherine Hepburn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tell how you met Catherine.
Well, see, when I was on Liberty one time, I went to Westphalia, Iowa, and there was a guy, I got lined up with him. My mother knew him, said, stop in Westphalia because there's a guy there who's a nice guy. He's got a brother that's in the Navy, or is civilians in service. And he's with a orchestra. Was it Bennigan?
No, you're telling about Catherine Hepburn.
Oh, this is Catherine Hepburn. Oh, Clyde and I went to the barber shop after we get off the boat. And the barber, I was asking him, he's Italian. And he says, I got a son, it's Italiano. No, it's a sailor boy like him. He was Italian, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And he said, like it? I said, do you like it all right? Okay, it's okay. He says, meet a lot of nice people. Hey, you go over here, he says, what's her name?
Catherine Hepburn.
Catherine Hepburn, having a party right over here. And Clyde, hey, let's bust that. So Clyde and I, when he got his hair cut, we were both all slicked up and whites, looked good, you know. And there was a guy standing by a hedge kind of entrance to a nice piece of property, right on the I can't think of it. Comes out of New York down Long Island. They say it back there, Long Island.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, we was wondering what, you had some kind of a party here or something. And the guy at the gate says, yeah, I said, Catherine Hepburn's having a tea party or something like that. I said, man, I wonder if we could get in to see her, just to talk to her a little bit. Oh yeah, I said, I think she'd do that. So he went up and zipped, he come back, and she was on the way down, and she met us. And I thought, hey, God, Clyde, this is Catherine Hepburn. I said, let me shake your hand. I took it, and she gave me a sidewinder, little hug, you know. Patted my hand, old Clyde, patted his hand. She says, have you boys got time to have a cup of tea? I said, that's all we got to drink. She said, it's tea. That's kind of bad, but that's all I got. Then, but I'll give you the lingo on that, she says. Shall I put the lingo on?
Sure.
Catherine Hepburn at that time, she sounded like, I don't know what I can do. I'm getting so damn old now. I used to cater to sailors when they come around here, but now they're two good-looking gentlemen, brand new haircuts, and come on up. I'll do something that you'll remember me by. And I said, my God, I'll never forget you, Catherine. Took us up, and we had a cup of tea and some little grommets, what do you call them? We call them little
Cookies.
some little cookies and little. But she come over and shook hands with us. Yeah, Catherine.
I'll be darned.
That's how I met her. Now Hopalong Cassidy, I met him at the airport. He was selling bonds in Des Moines, and I went in to use a head, and he was laughing. I thought, that's a familiar laugh. And he was coming out still, kind of doing these things. And he says, God damn, he said, big sailor boy. I said, I haven't seen a big sailor nowhere. And I said, well, I got everything stuffed up, you know. Then he laughed. You could hear him laugh from here to there. And he says, you got to come on in. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Des Moines. And he says, well, we got a table over. We've been selling bonds. You got to come over and meet the gang. So he took me over and introduced me to everybody. And there was several other, big shops. And then I'm walking down the street in New York City, and I go by a bar off Fifth Avenue, and I hear a laugh. And it's him. He had a laugh like you could just hear it all. What did I say his name was?
Hopalong.
Hopalong, yeah, oh Hoppy. It was Hoppy, he was laughing. So I went in, got in, no trouble getting in. They let an old sailor in there, you know. And he introduced me to everybody under.
I'll be darned.
That was Hoppy's deal.
And you listed here Mae West and W.C. Fields. You met them as well?
Yeah.
Or?
We got a picture of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's damn shame.
You did.
Huh?
Not when you was a sailor though.
No,
Oh.
no, that's new.
But you gotta tell him about you and Clyde jumping off that balcony. That
Oh,
was so fun.
I was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We picked up some troops there. And old Clyde was my cooking, singing buddy when he was on a sub chaser. And we were pretty close. I mean, you wasn't supposed to take pictures off that sub chaser. And old Clyde said, I know how we can do that. And every once in a while, if they'd come in your little bitty galley, but if they seen you got a camera on there, the captain would get word and he'd straighten you out for
Yeah.
that. So old Clyde says, hey, when we come into port, we like to take pictures through the porthole. And he was just right for porthole. He could see that porthole. He says, I know, he said, I'll wrap it up in something, put it in the old meal box. And then you give me the old tap. When to look out the porthole for Clyde was on the water line, and he goes right through the kitchen. You could hear that, just like a phone. Click, 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 click. Get your head up on down deck. We're coming in here. We're seeing this so-and-so ship and stuff. Then we'd take the camera out and he'd blow on it, take a picture. And you know, I got pictures of that, taken from the porthole in the galley. And it was, they really come out pretty damn good. It was a throwaway camera. Hell, I'm still buying them for throwaways. But old Clyde played played the guitar. And we had two guys come aboard the ship and they were trying to find out, they was getting messages in the air. And they were FBI people.
Ooh.
And so they come aboard the ship, they're gonna make one trip up and down the coast. And they was getting seasick, and Clyde just done a ham for them, you know. And they hang on mostly on the outside, they didn't like the smell of his galley. And Clyde says, here's what I got. And he said, now look at that ham. He said, that's, don't say ham. Hey, I said, don't say ham. Clyde said, get his ass out of here, get it. Because you had to go up 3 steps to get out of the galley, you know. And then he went up to see how the part was getting along. Here come the cook. And a tray, ham all cut nice, you know, and trimmed up with a little garlic green stuff there, you know. And he says, where you going, cook? He says, I'm going to get rid of this son of a bitch. And he just threw her over the side. And they said, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Somebody's bound to not be seasick. Clyde says, I haven't got time to mess with them. But later on, he did find out they had like a recorder. They was recording radio sounds. And they told the cap later on, got in touch with my little outfit, and said that they made a hit on that. A guy had an antenna coming up out of his fireplace, and at night he'd raise the antenna and then broadcast to the Germans.
Really?
Raised their boat, their antenna out there, picking up the messages, with the dits and the dots and the stuff like that. So anyway, that was that story.
I mean, when you were in San Juan, Puerto Rico, in that hotel.
Okay, San Juan
that's
Hotel,
fun.
Clyde and I went ashore. We had maybe one little bit too many, and so we spent the night there, and then in the morning we got up, and I heard music, and I thought, gee, this is music this early in the morning, you know. I was snooping around there, then I seen people, you know, going into a hallway or something down there. I said, Clyde, we talked about jumping off the second deck, you know, into the swimming pool. It come right up under our room. And we was up, the distance from here to there, anyway, up above. Fancy black iron. Clyde says, hell, we're already stripped off. He said, let's just go do that, and then we can take a towel and get ourselves back up to the room before the water ever quietens down, see, so. He said, that music's good. He said, then we'll go look up the music. They're playing the bongo drums. And so I said, go ahead, Clyde. I said, you go and I'll be right behind you. So he grabbed the black iron and get up there and he says, hey, Geronimo, Geronimo. And he jumps over, bare-assed, hits that water, makes a big Geronimo, splashes it. And I heard women screaming out, what the hell happened here? And then he hollered, don't go, don't go, don't go. He said, I'll see you later. Yeah, I said, okay. So I got up and I got in that sucker, and I didn't figure I had to make no big, you know, splash, so I jumped and got in the water. And they were standing right there was 2 officials, and then the shore patrol, and a policeman. Holy smoke, what the hell's going on here? They said, we're gonna take your ass in and lock it up. That's what we're gonna do. Oh, shit. Hey, Clyde. So they got us in and told us just to get out of there as quick as we could. And they said, you sure did wet some of them ladies down. It was all dressed for Sunday morning.
Oh, no.
So that was Clyde and I. You know, when I tried to get a hold of that booger after the war.
I was just going to ask you if you kept in touch with Clyde or anybody else.
No, sure, I didn't, and I had the girl that was in the yard here the other day.
Trying to trace him. But
I was trying to trace. She's pretty good at finding people. She was gonna. So I wanted to get hold of Clyde. Then I wanted to get Bush. What did I say? His name was
Bosway.
Bosway, Lieutenant Bosway. He was a lieutenant, but in communications. And he was married and had 2 daughters. And he got seasick sometimes real bad, and then sometimes he got just sick, lonesome. And I'd made my trips on the outside of the ship. For some reason or other, I'd rather take that trip that I made outside the ship and feel that old ship rock over and hang on her. And it was just a thrill for me to do that. And everybody else they'd go inside and they'd get seasick, you know. And
Yeah.
not me, I didn't get seasick, so I get up on the flying bridge. And he'd say, "My God, man, you don't have to come up the outside that." And I said, I like to hang on and look down. It's a damn challenge, you know. But he actually lost himself, and then he couldn't talk. He'd see you later, and I tried to get him after the war, you know, not very hard.
Yeah,
Thought
yeah.
I'd give him a call.
Yeah.
But he was an attorney, and oh boy, I felt sorry for him. Yeah, he's a good guy. I talked to him as much as I could because he was on the flying bridge, and that's all the way up. Well, if you're enticed to get a little tight, you'd feel it on them long swings, you know. And for some reason or other, it didn't bother me a damn bit. Everything, I'd always take it as a challenge, you know. But that was.
Did you forget Arlene Francis?
Oh no, I said that, Arlene Francis.
He didn't tell me about you going out with a Powers model
Oh.
when you got up on the stage.
Oh, Arlene Francis, yeah. I was just walking down the damn Broadway just by myself, and admiring everybody's having a good time. I could hear music here, and finally there was 2 people come up and they had clipboards. There was a guy and one gal. They had clipboards, and they said, "You're at the so-and-so place." I don't remember what the club was, but and we have little fun with soldiers and sailors. Come on in. Don't cost you a penny. And Arlene Francis at that time was a famous name in radio, you know. And you have a chance to win yourself a debutante and the meals paid. Go to any bar and cab fare and whatever. I said, "Shit, that beats walking up and down the street like I was working for the Knights of Columbus." As I said, I'm running on less money than that. "Well, come on in." So left Main Street and walked in the back and in the alley, and next thing you know, I'm in the back room where they had some of their equipment for raising the curtain and down, and said, "Arlene Francis got a program in there. You'd like it." We needed one more man. We got a soldier and somebody else, and then me. There's 3 of us. Soldier, Marine, and sailor. Then they got a curtain hangs down in the middle of the stage like that. And the audience over here is, let's see, one half of the audience is over here and the other half's over here. It's a matter of voting, the way we vote here, she says. So, okay, we're going to start out with this group over here. These are soldiers and sailors, soldiers and Marine. You got to be able to tell a little quick stories. So, what can you do? Talent. Maybe you got to do. You got some kind of a talent. Maybe you can make a 50-cent piece disappear like that, you know. Oh, I said, I used to do it. No, we want something more out of that. Okay, so the Marine went up first, and then if he could do something that was entertaining, maybe he could pretend like he was skipping on a rope or something. It's just something real simple.
Yeah.
I said, hell, I can whistle. I can whistle like the Elmo Tenor. He was whistling for famous bands then, triple whistling, and I can do that. And I balance chairs on my chin, and see that, because I can balance chairs.
Yeah.
You can, 1 chair, 2 chairs, yeah, hell yeah, I do 3 chairs. And she says, that's good. Then the curtain's halfway on the stage, see, like this.
Yeah.
So they don't, this outfit don't know how this outfit's moving.
Oh, gotcha. Uh-huh.
And she said, you can whistle or you can do the chairs. And why do you think you should do it at all? And I said, well, and I said, oh shit, what will they say? I said, I tell you what, my grandma always listens to this program back there in Nebraska. And I know she's always talking and stop in and see Arlene Francis. Maybe you get to hold her hand or something. And I said, here I am. She said, well, now that is a miracle. Now, but let's do the chairs. And I said, yeah, I can do this chair, put another one on there. And at that time I could do that real easy, no strain at all. Put them 3 chairs up. Then the crowd claps, see, and that's how you get your points.
Yeah.
And then they clap after it's all with. Now here's the guy with the 3 stair. He said he could do that or whistle, and I thought this would be good. And then the army soldier, he done something, I don't remember what it was. This guy, he done something over here. And so I done mine, and then had the chairs up there, and I said, you want to put another one on there? Oh, no, get her down there, get her down there. So then I got a good hand. Oh man, I got a good hand. So then they voted. Now who, this guy, what's he get over here? And then he gave me a hand. And the Marine, not so good. And the soldier, pretty good. But I won the tickets, and then I found out we all 3 won anyway. That's what they said. So we got tickets. Each guy get a ticket, can pick the Powers model. Mm-hmm. So there you got. This is your tickets, Joe, and this is your lady right here. Some lady over here, nice looking lady. And I shook hands with her. It wasn't too, you shake hands and you read a guy's mind. And I shook her hand and she kind of a little reluctant, so. That isn't a soldier, he shook hands with somebody and they were happy. So then we started taking off. I went out and I had a cab waiting for me and helped her on with her coat. She had a nice coat. And, then we found us a bar. Not all of us together, but I got a bar and they got a bar and the cab driver went somewhere else. So we went into place and sat down at the table and she says, okay, she checked her coat in, okay, she says, now, first off, she said, what I do first is I give you my signature. Oh, I said, shit, that'd be great, I says, I was hoping you was ready to give me something. Did you see how, you dumb sailor. So anyway, she said, give me your, so I slid my menu thing over there on the table. This is after we got in the car and went and found the bar, see. So, party's over, thanked everybody, had a good time, got a good hand. Got in the car, helped her on her coat, had a nice coat. And I said, where do you want to go? And she said, this is fine for me. So we pulled into some name joint there, Down there, there's a lot of sailors and soldiers down in there, and everybody, pretty respectable place. Wasn't no wild sailors or nothing like that. Yet. And anyway, so she said, slide your paper over here, I'll sign my name and you can send it home and tell your folks that you was out with the Powers model. Wow! I said, okay. Then I slid it over and I said, now you slide this, put your menu over here, I'm going to sign your paper. And you can tell your folks you was out with a sailor and a man and a gentleman and I'm going to see him later. And she said, now I don't know about all that. And I said, do whatever you want, it belongs to you. She says, I think I'm getting out of here. And I said, I was hoping you'd come up with that. So I walked her to a cab. I said to the cabbie, take her anywhere you want. She's all yours. She said, do I get a hug for a good night? And I said, nope. Give you everything I had. I enjoyed that. Of course, I had a little bit of Jameson there, so give me more guts.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't stand her being pointy.
Right.
And here all I got out of her in this very uniform. And I thought that was that. So everybody said you was wrong. My kids said you was wrong. But anyway, I did that.
Well, how do, as we kind of start to wind down this interview, how do you think the war, or that time period of time, affected your life or played into your life? Did it?
I was glad I went through it, and I was glad I had all of it, and I remember it forever, and I hope I never forget it, even though it was rough to take. It was rough to take. I tell you what, I was up, took 2 tours, we traveled together here, But this tour here, I went over to up into Murmansk, Russia. A little farther in, I got to go.
Oh, so you've since traveled back to some of the places?
Oh, sure. I went back.
St. Petersburg.
Huh?
St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I went back into St. Petersburg. But getting off of the ship, you know, it was a cool town, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They had 2 or 3 guards down at the bottom of the run there. And one guy seen carrying a package. I said, "What's the guy carrying a package on the ship?" And he said, "Yeah, he brings in shirts, like a nice shirt like this, or a nice shirt like this, and then that would be your little gift." And then they had these little little dolls.
Oh yeah, Matushka dolls.
Yeah,
You know,
uh-huh.
Yeah, the Matushka. And so I said, "I want some of the Matushka there." And then I said, "Oh, I said first the guy bumming cigarettes. He was an army Russian guy." And I said, "Yeah, now first of all, is there anybody here that's not?" I said, "There's a lady over there standing next to a car. Does she have a car to take you around?" And "Oh yeah," I said, "What I gotta give her?" He says, "Oh, give her anything you want. Just take anything. She'll take you a ride around town." He said, "Yeah, that'd be good." I said, "I'll give you some cigarettes." He said, "That's the one you want to go to." He said, "That's the best one I got." So I said, "Here, take the package." Oh man, he really got on. He walked down the steps with me off the ship, off the ladder, you know. And then went over and said, "This sailor wants to see some of the stuff that he's seen during the war."
Yeah.
The sailor during the war. Now he's off the cruise ship, this one right here. And then she could understand that. So she said, "I got a car." And I said, "Here's another package of cigarettes." So that was the best thing I ever done.
Yeah.
She was a neat lady, and she gave me a ride around town and showed me everything and talked all the way around. And then she lined me up with these Kokashiki dolls here, the place to get them, you know. And she knew Tom Harkin. She said, "I've listened into some programs and I've heard that name." And I thought, now that's really a miracle, you know. So I gave her Tommy's card, and Tommy says, "Sometimes I get cards from people. I don't know, I don't know how you pass so many cards out. You'd think we was going to have a dance band out here." But anyway, that night she took me to see the
Bolshoi Ballet.
Bolshoi Ballet.
Wow.
And then at halftime, a little time off, you go back and you have, what is it, the stuff that I don't like?
Vodka.
Vodka and there's something else, some kind of a drink they had there. I didn't care much for the drink. But anyway, and then she introduced me to some fancy people. And then it was time to go back in, but there was a chandelier made, and it was given to the city, of course, before. A lot of that stuff they took and buried, so they'd be sure to keep it, you know. But anyway, it was right down the street was where they taught them guys how to dance, you know, like how to fly through there like a butterfly and stuff like that. So I seen that. It took me all the way around where old St. Peter himself stood and designed the railroad that he wanted built so he could go to Stalingrad, and how he laid everything out with a stick in the dirt. And the engineer says, "Sir, you're going to have to go over some mountains or something like that." He says, No, I don't have to. I want to go through the mountain. I don't want it straight." So he said, "But you got to go around here to get." No, don't have to do that. I want that to go straight. He said, "Do you understand?" And the guy said, "Oh, yes, sir." You know, yeah, anything from you, Mr. President, or whatever they said.
Or you'd gone back to Russia. Were you able to get back to like Casablanca, the Caribbean, or the Philippines?
Yeah,
visit?
Philippines. Yeah, I went back to the Philippines. I liked it so good. I stayed there 7 years. I went over there and worked on construction for Brown and Rutt Construction out of Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
In fact, that's where I got me into this country here, is just by traveling around, because I'd worked in the oil fields down in Days End of Texas, in South America, and so I'd meet a guy on a job site like out in Hawaii, or well in Hawaii, wherever I could yak with somebody. And I had a guys out there on Guam. We had 600 Americans out there, and quite a few Filipinos on Guam. We built the hospital, we built the roads, the power systems, the containers for fuel oil and stuff like that, and a whole bunch of different stuff, communication. In fact, is later on, Senator Harker called me and said, "You want to go back to Guam?" I said, "Where do you at?" And he says, "In the office here in Des Moines." He said, "I got designated to meet some people out there, engineers and stuff." And he says, "I told him you had some connections out there." And I said, "You told them that?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Bring him along." So I went because I knew I'd bought property out there, and I got to know a lot of the guys. I knew the governor,
Huh.
and I knew some of the Army big shots. And so Tommy called me and I said, "Meet me in Hawaii." So I took off, met him in Hawaii, and then I went on out, went to Guam, and they paid my bedroom out there while I was out there. I was out there about a month. And he done his business. So then the Marines heard that I was there, and they couldn't find we built an underground container for fuel up in the jungles in the mountains on Guam.
Uh-huh.
And nobody could find it, where it came out. Where does it come out of? You know, they don't want to go through the jungle hunting for carrying everything up. I said, "Hell, I know where it's at, but I can see it from above, tell you where it's at, but right now I can't say, let me go up here."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, go with the Marines," and the Marines said they'll fix me up. So I went over there and they give you the whole damn thing. They go take us up. They had a helicopter, and I'd never been in that. He said, "You ever been there?" And Tommy went along. Of course, Tommy flew the F-4 Phantoms, you know. So hell, we got her. They fixed me up, put straps in front of the door here. I said, "Man, if I got to lean out," he said, "Well, yeah, you got to be able to lean out, take pictures." And so we flew all around. I said, "Hell, I know where it's at. I'm just going to put you guys off a little bit. I like this." So from the air, I know what mountain and what side and stuff. So that was good. Then they entertained us there, and then entertained us at night. And they were just building to finish and celebrating the new schoolhouse, new university. And I was in on that, see. So the Marines gave me a little extra everything. Then we went over to the little island. Then they had the Navy, the government had to go over there and check an outfit was selling. What do you call it? The girls, the people with sewing machines. What do you call them?
Oh, Taiwan?
Slaves.
Yeah, they had them in their sewing, and they weren't, they weren't paying them hardly anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A sweatshop?
Yeah, sweatshop.
Yeah.
And that was on I think it was in Korea or something like that. So we went past her doing the war. I knew where it was at, but I couldn't have found my way.
Yeah.
So I went over there and with Tommy, and some of the government people were already there. So we stayed there, and then the governor and his wife invited us to stay for dinner. So we stayed for dinner after the business was done. Really neat. And I says to the guy, the head of the island, what do you call him, governor. I said, "Governor, we're running a little late here. You guys are gonna, you don't need to be." In the meantime, they grabbed us and put us in front of it. They were just dedicating a big monument for the people that helped them in their war troubles. Shit, they put us in the picture. They found out later that they had our pictures at the state, at this big monument they had. This old Tommy said, "I'm in there."
I'll be darned.
In fact, I got a book on it somewhere. But anyway, the captain says, his wife got up from that end of the table where Tommy and the wife and the governor. And I was talking to the governor's son down here, and I was telling him some funny stories. And he was laughing, and everybody else was laughing, having a good time. And them guys are down at the other end of the table. And finally she got up and she said, "Well, I've had just about enough of this business." Now she said, "My son's down there laughing, he keeps motioning for me to come down. Hey, Mom, go on down here." And I was telling some funny stories. And so she come down and sat alongside of us. I said, hey, this is getting a little late, isn't it? She said, no. And I said, well, how the hell are we going to get back if the plane takes off? And she said, oh, he'll get you back there. And I said, yeah, but who's going to fly the plane? Oh, she said, that's his plane. He'll fly you back. So we don't have to worry about getting back. So that's what they did. We stayed there a little bit later, had one more little dip and got in the old airplane. The old governor got in the front seat there, him and Tommy. Of course, Tommy was a F-4 Phantom pilot, so he thought he could stay there. I said, don't leave, Tom, stay up there. Yeah, so it was really nice people. And then I met the Marine sergeant we found, took him to where the lines went, and the jigs in the line, and come on down this way, and where it come out down in the harbor. So it was good to see that. And then I found out that the guy was driving the governor around, and he seen me and heard my name, and he come over and he says, sir, may I speak to you? I said, sure, anytime. I said, I can understand you. He says, I know. He said, my grandma sold you some property. And I said, yeah, let's see, God, I can't think of his name now, Palomino, yeah. Well, anyway, I bought some property with him, and I built a shack there. And this guy that was driving the governor's car was getting the best. He said, I just love to hear you guys talk, because he said, I said, yeah, I remember you and your brother used to the water buffalo right under my shack and this way and around on Sunday. And I'd take my wife and walk the other way around. There's a Catholic church there, see. So then he went home, sees Grandma, and she gave him the book. And says, it's Big Joe. Everything was Big Joe, you know. Yeah. Hey, Big Joe, here he is, first time payment right here. And then the second time, Big Joe payment right here, paid on time, all the way down the book. And then she says, my book last typhoon made it wet. So she said, it looks kind of bad, but I did have it nice and neat. Wow. Isn't that something? Yeah. Yeah, here's a kid now. And then I found out later that he bought some property down at where the Air Force Academy's at down there.
Colorado Springs there?
Yeah, he bought some.
I'll be darned.
So he said he takes some time off, he comes over and visits his place. So I met quite a few people over there. Yeah. And some of them stayed there and forever, I guess.
Well, talk a little bit about you had quite a bit of family that served this country. I mean, you lost your mom. Talk about your brothers, your children. Talk about the various people that have served in your family.
Well, I lost a mother, lost my dad, and then I lost my brother Butch, and Johnny. Yes, Johnny was one.
Johnny was your brother as well?
Yeah, my brother. He's my brother. And Francis was my brother. And Bill McQuaid was my dad. And then Mary McQuaid was my mother. And who else did I have there? That's pretty much.
Well, you was going to talk about Butch being with Romney in Africa. That was his brother.
Oh, yeah, my brother Butch. He went all the way across to Africa. And he was, where he found out about his mother, or our mother, he was on a cot in a tent in the north belly of Africa. Mm-hmm. And he took a slug that was about as big as a ping pong ball, rough, right in the middle of the back. Oh. But it didn't, he didn't get him. It just laid there until they got around, and I don't know how long he laid there before they took it out. But it was in the tent that they took it out. Hmm. And we just went back and buried old Butch here 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
He was 18 months older than Joe.
Oh,
yeah, old Butch.
Tough old guy.
He was tougher than cheese, he was tough.
Yeah.
He took the outfit. They lost one, the command got killed. And Butch took it over from that. And he got him, he fought all the way on down. He wound up in Sicily. And he got down in there and met, what that?
Foxhole with Bob Dole.
Bob Dole. You ever hear of him, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Well, him and Bob Dole was in the same hole. And the Germans was up here shooting down just every so often. They'd shoot down. But they both got boogered up there.
Yeah, right.
My brother got the Dole got boogered.
Now talking about Kelly.
Yeah, well then my son is buried down here at Denver. And he was on the aircraft carrier at Midway.
He's not buried, it's killed.
No,
It's
I said he done his time
Yeah,
on the Midway.
I don't know which
But he come home in a basket. He told me the other day, he says, I've been in this wheelchair now for 30 years.
30 years.
30 years. He was a mechanic, air mechanic. On the Midway, wasn't it Midway?
I don't remember which one's aircraft carrier.
Big aircraft carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just had a party the other
And
day.
it sucked him into the engine.
He was working on it. They got him out of his bunk. He was all through for his watch. They got him out of his bunk, get his tools. They take him up there, and he said, "Shit, I just got down here." And he got up there, and he took his tools, and unrolled them. Worked under this hydraulic system in the air, one of the air wings. And he rolled his stuff up, stood up. Just as soon as he stood up, why, some command from the bridge, give this plane, rev her up and get her on the line, you know. So they went like that. When he done that, him and his tools went right on in.
Oh, jeez.
So it busted his back, cut him up, and that was the end of him.
And
My
you-
daughter went over and came back with him, and that killed my wife was still alive, you know. But that wiped her out. She just lost it. And then she got cancer after that, so that took care of her
Now
program.
Danny, tell me about Danny. Danny was in the Army.
Yeah, Danny, that's the other son. I got Danny up here somewhere? Yeah, Danny's up there.
And your daughter was in the service as
Yeah,
well?
she went in the Navy and she wanted to go back to Guam. She says everywhere I went, they want to know where the hell old Big Joe was at, you know. But to the natives, you know, they had everybody, it was heavier than them. I don't know whether that's the right fedora or not, but I think I get it on about right. So anyway, Teresa went over there and she stayed. My God, she's tougher than hell too. But she liked it. She wanted, kind of like me, she wanted that experience. She wanted that in her background.
Mm-hmm.
So she went over there. She was over there just a little bit longer than a year, or not a year, but whatever length of her time was.
Yeah.
And she came back anyway. She went over to Guam, and then she said every place she'd go, she'd want to strike up a little something. Maybe you remember my dad. They call it Big Joe. Come up here, built the hospitals and stuff. And she'd get acquainted real quick with it. Then you get to yakking. But she just wanted to do one hitch, come back. Then she married a kind of a dingbat pilot down in Florida. She was still in the Navy. And they were getting nowhere. And then I heard that and she was sharp. She still is sharp. Anyway, I says, what you ought to do is get that husband of yours to transfer his papers and go to work at the airline down here in Denver. And I said, this place is nothing but a damn rat hole anyway. That southern part of Florida is terrible.
Yeah.
You ever been down here?
No.
Damn. It was just terrible. It's all, you know, it's hot,
Yeah.
sultry. You don't think anything. If you eat your pizza, leave the pizza up on the sink there. The bugs will put it where they want it. So they'll leave it in the middle of the floor. You could hear them. I'd get up to go to the bathroom. You could hear them dragging that sucker. What do you call them?
Cockroach?
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fighting over the pizza tray, you know.
Uh,
So I said, HP's want to build a plant here. And there's no reason you have to be down here. This is miserable. And it's going to be like first come, first served for hiring. Of course, you got to qualify.
yeah.
And I didn't have to talk too long, but they had already gone to Cape Cod. And they didn't like that neither, so back down to there. And then I got her in out here for take her exams. And she told me just the other day she got her 32 years in.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, she's sharply attacked, pretty beautiful. Do I have her picture up there too?
Yeah, we got pictures.
Yeah, there she is.
I dug these out
Navy
here
hat back there.
where the ships were shooting the submarine.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wind down this interview. One thing, though, I do want to do, you're the first veteran I've ever interviewed that can still put on his uniform, and I notice you've got your whistle in your pocket.
Yeah.
Do you want to blow that for us and tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, this pipe.
Mm-hmm.
I got this pipe on that destroyer escort, and it was from a guy If you hadn't asked me the name, I'd get it right now. Anyway, it belonged from World War I. Belonged to his dad.
Huh.
And then Barlow got it, his son, Barlow. He got it, and then he got his arm, his whistling arm. He was going through a steel door, and a big wave come up and hit the door, and pushed his arm in the door, and he practically cut it off. And he said he never could use it again. I can't either. I couldn't do nothing with this left hand. So he gave me this and says, just don't ground it. Just when you get through with it, you'll take good care of it. Just remember my name is Farlow, Jim Farlow. My dad's name was Farlow. So I said, I'll never forget your name as long as she dies. I mean, no, I can remember it.
Yeah.
So I've had that pipe, and then we got called back to, yeah, I got it messed up in a little deal. I wanted Tommy on one of his deals over there, the islands. And he introduced me to a couple of guys, says they're from Iowa. So he said, but I've got some runaround to do here with the Admiral on, so I said, maybe you'd like to come along. I said, oh, geez, would I ever come along with a couple of admirals, or one admiral anyway. You got a senator and an admiral. Here's an old boats and mate sitting in the back there. I had a little cut, about like I have here. And there's a nurse that goes with the Commodore on his trips, more than just a band-aid ladies. But anyway, he says, I've got to make a little run. He says, you're welcome to come aboard my gig. I said, would I ever? I always wanted to get buddied up with an admiral. He laughed, you know. He said, we're not all bad, or something like that. And Tommy. So they went along here sitting at the front end of the boat with the boat captain. And I sat in the back talking to the engineer, and then the lady that was doing the band-aid for me. And what I enjoyed was we went all the way around the harbor in Hawaii, and he had to get around the other place. He says, now you'll know some of the kind of stuff I have to go through. He said, now watch everybody stand up and come looking at me. Well, the boat guy had a pipe, so he piped the admirals coming aboard, and then everybody would come to the side of the boat that they were on, or the ship were anchored. And I thought, that's something. Here I am riding with the Admiral's gig and back here and all getting all the goodies out, you know, and everything. And then Tommy introduced me to him while he was aboard the boat there. And he says, geez, he got Navy, and he told Tommy, he said, there's one thing I haven't ridden yet. That's a sub, you know. So he said, well, we'll take care of that. So we got back to the beach, and he put the word into his traveler. He always got a guy along, right, making notes.
Yeah.
He says, well, you're welcome to go along on a little run around on that sub. I said, boy, would I ever like to do that. And Tommy said he'd never had that experience. So here we are, cruising the damn area around here with the Admiral, drinking his coffee, which was damn good. And that was the smoothest ride. You can't believe that, that you're moving. And you're sitting there at the little bench to sit on. Then there's a guy stands there, he's a table watcher. He'll take your cup if it's empty, take it out of the way. So then the Admiral says, show him that neighbor lady's hanging her laundry on the line. Give it the periscope there. Up scope. It goes up like that. He says, okay, get in there. He said, they'll zero it in for you. So the guy comes out and he zeroes it in. He says, yeah, I can see her pretty good here. So I got down there and looked through there. I had my arms over the head there like they do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see her real good. He says, you want to get lined up there? The Admiral said. Then he started laughing about that. But that was my experience now. My God, I used to have, what happened to I had it hanging up.
It's hanging on the wall
over here.
On the Mary submariner.
Yeah, there you go. See, I got paperwork there. Proves I was on that.
Okay.
So, so anyway,
Tell him about the Missouri where you piped the flag.
Oh yeah, that's another.
He wanted to know about your pipes.
Yeah, the pipe.
Tell him about
okay.
that.
Okay, then one of our trips over there.
Honolulu.
In Honolulu. And let's see now. Oh, yeah, they was in Honolulu. We was aboard the Missouri.
Pearl
Okay.
Harbor.
And the word was that there's two captains that wants two flags flowing over the Missouri, but they want them piped. They didn't want them just up there and back down, or they didn't want it on a trumpet.
Yeah.
They wanted a pipe, and they said they didn't know anybody that knew anybody that had a pipe. And so I got the word. And I said, I got a pipe, all you got to do is pay my way over there, you know. So I got my ways paid over to you, and I went over
I'll be
there,
darned.
took the old pipe, and got over there, and got back where the color box is at. It's a big box. It looked like it's this wide, about this long. I mean, it's about this wide, they're about that deep. They got all the flags and pennants in there, see. And that's how they do it. Takes care of the flags and the pennants.
Yeah.
Like if you had a sudden absence of communication or a secret enemy, then they come down a piece of paper that a guy can hoist the colors
Right.
up.
Gotcha.
That color means this, attention,
Right.
and so on, so on. So anyway, we went over there and piped the old boys. Colors go up, and then the guy'd bring them back down. Then they'd fold them just exactly right, fold it on the Missouri, and had this guy present it to him like this. That was that. Then there was one more to go, so we had to do that up and down.
You
Pipe.
blew the pipe
And you pipe as well
pipe.
for the parades here in Loveland.
I
Yeah.
do that to get the parade started.
Yeah.
I'll be down at the end, starting line,
Uh,
and I pipe one long. When the old colonel, he was here, he's dead now. I used to say, "Okay, Skipper, you about ready to cut loose here?" He says, "Yep, let's go." So then I'd pipe down here at all hands, and then they'd start picking the tools up and marching. Then they marched up at the new fairgrounds, or the new park.
uh-huh.
Yeah, that first trip.
Can you pipe us something real quick?
Oh yeah, I can know this be. I got. That's attention all hands for damn sure.
That's the one for raising the flag. Remember you raise the flag up and then
Yeah.
back down.
Yeah, raise colors up.
There's two different pipes
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
There's all of them.
That's up and back down.
All right. Well, we'll close out this interview. I want to thank you for your
Well-
participation in this, but more importantly, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
Oh well, the strain. That's no strain. That's no strain. That's a pleasure to be able to do that.
Great. Thank you very much.
And yeah. Okay. Well, this is my picture here, and that's when I was really looking good. And I can't tell you how old I was taken there, but that was when I first went into service. This one here, that's this one. Is that this one here or that one there? Okay, that's in the North Atlantic, and we're just having a little scrimmage with a ship that we sank. And I can't tell you the name of the ship, but the ship I was, yeah,
Marche.
my ship.
Uh-huh.
I mean the ship that we put to rest. Okay, that's in the North Atlantic. We was putting in some heavy shots into a sub coming up in there. He was making his last trip. I don't know whether he realized it then or not, but that's what that was. Okay, I was on watch in the North Atlantic. We were tied at the dock at the time.
Actually, this picture.
Oh, that picture there? Okay, that's my brother Butch. And that was taken up in Michigan, I think somewhere. I went up to see him. He was getting ready to ship overseas, myself. And that's that. And then up above was on watch. I was on watch, on duty. And we were somewhere in the Atlantic, and I don't know where. But we were laying to, as they say. Was not moving, but was getting ready to go on. That's it. That was a happy day there. That was taken at Hastings, Nebraska. And Omaha World Herald come out, and they was trying to get us, all the troops together, get lined up so they had some kind of a system. They wanted anybody that knew how to call cadence and could march the Army and the Navy and the Coast Guard and whatever else. And we're taking her right down Main Street in Hastings, Nebraska, right after the war.
And that's you by yourself on the left,
That's
correct?
me on the left here, counting cadence, calling cadence they call it. That's my son Dan, Mighty Dan. He was on duty over in Germany over there, and I can't give you much about that, other than he made it over there and came on back in one piece. That's my beautiful daughter, Teresa, and she was in the Navy, and she'd been over to Guam, and she was on her way back, and I guess that's where the picture was taken. But she gets prettier every day. That's my son, Kelly. He was over there on the Pacific side, and he was on the aircraft carrier, and I think it was the Midway. Was it Midway? I don't remember for sure which, but he was a mechanic on an aircraft carrier Midway, and he come back in a basket, and he said the other day that he'd been in a wheelchair now for 30 years, and that was his job. Okay, that's Mary. That's my beautiful daughter Mary. She come out of school and went to work for HP, and she's married. She's still here in town. She gets prettier every day. That's it on that.